Hi, this is Mary Jo Webster. This is video 2 about data cleaning with spreadsheets. We're going to cover a few basic string functions, or basically functions you would use to clean up text. Not numbers, not dates, that kind of thing, but text. One of the most common things you might run across in data, particularly if it was hand entered in some way or another, is extra spaces either before, after, or in the middle of your values. So you can see I've listed a couple of city names here, and you can see probably on the second Minneapolis one that there is a space in the front. You can't tell on the third Minneapolis one there is a space at the end, but we can't see it. In this first Los Angeles one, there's 2 spaces between Los and Angeles. It's hard to see, but it's there. And then there's a leading space here, and there's a trailing space here. You start to see these if you do a pivot table and try to group the city names. You will get, these will all show up as their own cities because the pivot table will not see them as the same thing. It does not like these extra spaces in here. So a function that you can use, you could just use it by default on any column that you think you're going to do a pivot table on, and you need to make sure you have standardized values. Or if you do the pivot table and you see all the problems, you can go back and do this. So the function is called trim, and I will point out that the best rule of thumb is to create a new column in your data, or sometimes I say new city name or clean city name. And I make it a whole new column, and I leave the old column as is. So the function is called trim, and you just, it's equal the word trim, and then you put in the value, or the cell address of the value you want to change, close the parenthesis, so you just need that one argument, and copy it down. And now we should have cleaned up names. The other thing is inconsistencies in uppercase and lowercase or proper case. You might run into difficulty where a program you're working with might see them as different values. Some programs don't care. They take that, it doesn't matter. But if you do need to change it for some reason, there are upper, lower, and proper functions that change your values depending on what you want. So if you want to convert all of these to uppercase, it's just the word upper, and we're saying A15. Like I said, we can do lower, and we can also do proper. Proper, you cannot always get it to work properly. For example, if you have, names, it's tricky, like Vanderschmidt. Let's say that's a last name, but the S on Schmidt is capitalized. But maybe there's a space in there, or maybe there's not. Maybe there's no space. The proper case function will not uppercase that S. So it's not super great, but it will get you there. Okay, so trim and upper are ones that I use a lot. We're going to go to the sheet called concatenate. The other thing we might need to do is combine 2 columns of text. So these are, you see some famous names in here. These are people who donated to a Senate campaign. This is quite old, but famous people. And it's just kind of fun to work with. But I want to have the city and the state all in one field so that when I do a pivot table, I don't have Bloomington, Indiana combining with Bloomington, Minnesota, and things like that. So I need it all in one column. So I'm going to put them together here. And there is technically a function called concatenate, but you don't actually need it. You just need an ampersand, which is above the 7 on your keyboard. So what we can do is we can say, we want to take that value that's in the city column. In this case, that would be cell B2. And we want to combine it with the value in the C column. And hey, let's put a comma and a space in between as well. So we can just kind of string all these things together. And let's do some cleanup while we're at it. So we'll use that trim function on the city name. And then we put an ampersand in. So our first piece, and then you put an ampersand. So then I want that comma and a space. So because this is not a cell address that I'm referencing, we need to put this in quotes. So we'll put quote, comma, space, quote. So there's our second piece. So you need another ampersand. And then we can do trim and C2 for the state. So there's 2 ampersands in there because we're stringing 3 things together. There we go. Now we have it all in one field. Now the other thing I'm not sure if I've shown you yet is how to copy paste special values. Right now, these are formulas in these cells in column D. If we were to somehow delete, here I'll delete the CA, it vanishes from this other cell. So if we want to prevent that from happening, or make sure we don't error in any ways, as long as you're sure that your cleanup work here, your concatenating worked, all your records look good, you've gone through it all, you're happy with it, and you're ready to kind of lock it in, you can highlight that column. You can copy. So there's a lot of different ways to do that. I just right mouse click and chose copy. You can do Control C or Command C on your keyboard. There's menus in here that you can do copy on. So any different ways you want to do copy. You do copy, and then you just, in the same place, you right mouse again and choose this paste special. And the first one is values only. And that will wipe out the formulas and give you just the values. So we're going to say values only. Now, if you click on these, you can see up in the formula bar up here that these are now values. The formula is gone. If I delete that CA, it doesn't delete from here. So we're all good.